I'm sorry not to be able to be with you today, but with technology, everything is obviously possible. And I would like to address first, what makes a country or a region successful, because during the past 25 years, we have been publishing a report on world competitiveness, looking at 60 nations, looking at more than 330 criteria. And obviously, after all those years, people are asking us, is there a recipe? Is there something that would explain why you are competitive or not? I would say the first factor would be probably the diversification of the economy. I think that most of the countries which are successful today, and the regions also, have a highly diversified economy. I'm coming from Switzerland. When I go abroad, people are asking me, Switzerland, chocolate and watches? I say yes, but what about banking? Oh yes. What about pharmaceutical? Oh yes. What about food? Oh yes, Nestle. I think it's highly diversified economy. Number two, I think it's a capacity to export. I mean, yes, we have to be attractive, but the success story today are also capable of exporting their goods to the rest of the world, and I think it's a key issue in competitiveness today. Number three, I would say that we have been able, those who have a success story, to preserve some manufacturing capabilities. The made-in concept, made in Germany, made in Belgium, made in Switzerland, is a very important concept. Preserving the industry is just as important as being very competitive in the service sector. I think balancing the two is really an issue. Then we have, of course, a question which is very well known but very important about the small and medium-sized enterprise. Wherever I travel around the world, we can see that every country, even the poorest one, has very large companies at the top, a lot of very small micro companies at the bottom, but in between there is nothing. And I think that the capabilities of creating small and medium-sized enterprise, very often family-owned, the Mittelstand in Germany, is really very important for the future, and we need that. And then I would add two additional things which are probably much more related to the government. Number one is fiscal discipline. We need a stable fiscal and, of course, financial environment. A lot of countries have introduced this kind of policy. Switzerland 10 years ago, Europe is discussing it, Germany has done it 2 years ago. I think budget balance, debt control is a critical issue. I know this is one in Belgium in general. And the second one is about education. I mean, Belgium is doing well, number 8 in our report, and there is no doubt it's critical, but it's not only top education, even secondary school education. It's about what we call dual track education system, apprenticeship. Having part of the population being able not only to learn knowledge, but to learn a job. And this explains why if we have this younger population learning a job, we can perhaps attack better the problem of youth unemployment in Europe, more than 20% of the population, and making sure that actually those countries with a good apprenticeship system actually have less youth unemployment. So this is critical in short. But it is also has to be applied to the regional level. And I think that Wallonia has a lot of these success factors already implemented. I would say that a foreign investor probably is looking at what I call a top environment. Top, T-O-P, transparent, O for open, and P for predictable. So transparent, I think Wallonia has it, but this is what people are looking for. They want an environment which is easy to understand, the so-called ease of doing business, where very often you have one-stop shop for authorization, and where basically you understand the way things are functioning. And I think Wallonia is doing that very well. Number two is to be open. And I think open is a long tradition of, at the same time, Belgium, Wallonia, etc. I mean, you have been open for many years to foreign business, to foreign cultures, to foreign ideas. And I think that investors like to be in a place where basically they don't feel like foreigners. And then you have the P for predictability. This is a very important one. At the end of the day, I do believe that business is able to adapt any situation. But actually they want it to be predictable. They don't want the rules of the game to change every 6 months. And I think a lot of countries have made, and regions have made the mistake of changing direction very often, and this is something people don't like. Actually, business do not want necessarily a business-friendly environment. They want to have a predictable environment. These are the rules of the game. I will adapt to those rules of the game, but they are going to be stable. If you look at China in general, it's not very business-friendly in many ways, but it is very predictable in terms of rules. and I think this is something we need sometimes in Europe in general to address. The lack of predictability and the fact that one of our key advantages in the past has been the rule of law. People trust the judicial system, and I think we should preserve this advantage at all costs for the future. The future, of course, what can it be? I think that, in my opinion, one of the most critical things for Wallonia in terms of attractiveness is to realize that actually the world is expanding and we have a lot of new companies on the market, new global players coming from the emerging economies. China, Russia, Brazil, Mexico are producing new companies, new brands. Very often these are names which we have never heard about during the past 10 years. For example, the largest manufacturer of household appliances is Haier in China, and a lot of people don't know that Haier is the largest one in the world. They are operating in the US. They are even manufacturing in the US now. We estimate here at IMD that you have now about 1,000 companies emerging from precisely the emerging economies, which have a turnover above $1 billion and which can be qualified as global companies. And very often they are not only manufacturing, they are producing brands. And my message is that one of the key issues for the future, for Wallonia, and for all of us maybe in Europe, is to have a better knowledge about those companies, a better knowledge about these new names. They are partners potential, they are suppliers, they are distributors. If we don't do anything, they could be also competitors. But let's make sure also that we can attract them for investment, because a lot of the world of tomorrow will not be the same as yesterday. And as the French writer Paul Valéry said one day, the real problem with the future is that it is not what it used to be. So if it is not what it used to be, let's open our eyes and let's try to find out who are going to be the new players.